Retiring in the San Miguels, Episode 8, Buying a Property in a Foreign Land. It's very easy to dream about buying and moving to a foreign land, but it's much harder to do in reality. So some things happened many months ago, but here are some of the juicy details. So I thought about the pink villa, but decided to look at more properties online before I made a decision. I found this great farm that was in a colonial house, had lots of land on the side of one of the volcanoes. But it was way more than my budget, and it was already under contract. And I looked for a property next to the Atlantic Ocean to see what that was like, because that's sort of the dream of all Americans. You know, the one I found didn't really have enough bedrooms to make the project work, and they were also much more expensive. So in the end, the pink villa was still my best option. I could spend another year looking for a better house, but thought that this one was fine and I didn't really want to wait. I like making things happen quickly. So how real estate works in Portugal is a bit like the Wild West. It's common for a person trying to sell a house to list with several different agents at the same time. And there's no really licensed real estate agents. They're a little more like car salesmen. There's no MLS of houses being sold, no major database. So there's no records of what's being sold and for how much. And so there are no good ways to get comps. There's no title or title insurance. They're not really buyer's agents. They're really all seller's agents. They just want to sell you something and get a commission. And one real estate agency will not necessarily work with another agency. They want to buy and sell everything within their own agency and not share with other agencies that occasionally they do have agreements with a few of them, but it's never with everyone. So then if you want to buy a house, you'll end up working with 7 different real estate agents to try to get the house you want. And then, all the photos are bad, and their solution is to take more bad photos. It's very much a buyer beware. The good thing is that foreigners have the right to buy a house just like a local. So looking at other properties on the internet is a bit more difficult. There are some major sites like Idealist, Buy Property, Green Acres, Pearl, Portugal. But the problem is, since there's not that central MLS database of all properties, that there may be several different listings for the same property because the houses are listed by different agents. And most of the listings are not valid anymore because once a house sells with one agent, nobody tells any of the other agents to pull down their listings. So you have a whole bunch of old listings out there. And, so it just makes everything more difficult to find and compare and try to make a decision. So about making an offer. The locals have really been inflating the price because lots of rich foreigners have been coming in and buying things. They do expect to haggle, and the agent will push you to make an offer with a reservation fee to take the property off the market while the offer is being considered, but I didn't do that. And I think it's best to use a Portuguese lawyer to draft a promissory contract versus going with agent. And always make a provision to have a home inspection done as a condition to the contract. So if there's some big issue that comes up, you can possibly get out or renegotiate a different contract. They did drop the price greatly on this property before I saw it, and then we asked for about a 10% discount in the offer, and they accepted it. My big problem was that I wasn't really ready to move there for a really long time, like at least 9 months at earliest. But no buyer or agent wants to wait that long and will hold it for you. But I didn't want an empty house for many months that was just laying there. So we decided to draft a side contract for the existing owner to stay and take care of the property and allow for contractors to come in and fix it up during that time. So we made a contract contingent on signing up this side agreement. So they wanted me to close in November, but I didn't want to buy a house at the end of the year. I decided I wanted to do it at the beginning of the year so I wouldn't have to deal with tax issues until the following year. So my lawyer got a really good home inspector who was an actual engineer to do the inspection, and he did a great job. Had a report with lots of photos, and we had a video chat that went over all of that. And we also hired a drone photographer to take pictures of the roof, but they weren't actually any good. We're very concerned about possible leaks in the roof and possible rising damp in the basement. The engineer said that the roof would cost only about 10,000 euros, which was sort of hard to believe. And I asked the home inspector for a referral for a contractor, as I heard it could be very hard to get work done on that small island. There are a few good contractors, but all of them are booked a year in advance. And even though I had a telephone conference with the contractor and was hopeful that I could get all the work done before I moved there, but many months have passed without any kind of estimate. You must have a Portuguese bank account to buy a house, and you have to have a NIF, their version of, say, a social security number, to get a bank account. It's not as easy as in the US to get a bank account. There are no free accounts. They all have a maintenance fee that you have to pay every month, even though you might not be using that account hardly at all. Most people use a special service to get that account. I used my Portuguese lawyer, who ended up costing a lot more than those services. But I was trying to build a relationship with somebody that would have my back when problems came up. Even the process of getting money to Portugal was a pain in the butt. I have money in 3 different places. 2 were in a high-yield savings account, which was easy to close out and send to Wise, a currency exchange, to convert to euros to send to my Novo Banco account. But one of them was in a high-yield CD, It took like 5 weeks to close it out and lose all the interest on it to be able to get the funds out. And I only got the funds there, like 3 days before the closing. A standard bank, will convert, your US dollars to euros, but it can cost like 1 to 3%. When you have a really expensive six-figure property, that extra 1 or 2% could be like $20,000 that are added to the cost. My friend Fred, the lawyer, ended up taking 5 weeks off in November, and he went to San Miguel to continue looking for a house. I asked him to go to the Vila Laura and to measure out the rooms for me, and he took 4 hours to do that, and he discovered that the owner had these two very mean attack dogs, and he was like not right in his head, but when I saw him for like 30 minutes, months ago, he seemed fine. I was scheduled to go there in February for a week and live with him and his dangerous dogs. So that was a big concern. So the closing happened on January the 15th without me signing a single document. My Portuguese lawyer had power of attorney and signed everything for me. And at the very last minute, we got the crazy male owner to cancel the site contract before the closing. Once I made the decision to buy, it set a ton of things in motion that brings this idea of a co-living community for single seniors. One of the major issues was, what do I do with my current retail store, Pirate Fashions?